Let's get into the next conversation now. Nigeria's economic potential is no doubt constrained by many structural issues, including inadequate infrastructure, tariff and non-tariff barriers to trade, obstacles to investment, and lack of confidence in currency valuation, rising debt profile, high inflationary pressure, and limited foreign exchange capacity, amongst others. However, the rise in the cost of living has been unprecedented and unbearable, as the current government seems to have lost traction on national economic planning and management, as the country is battling with slow economic growth. With just 28 days to the commencement of a new administration, the next president has the challenge of revamping an ailing and critically dysfunctional economy, which is already with abating macroeconomic fundamentals stifling the growth prospect of the nation's economy. Now let's get talking now. I'm being joined virtually from Ogun State by the former president of the Chartered Institute of Bankers, Professor Segun Ajibola. He joins us virtually. Thank you for your time, Professor.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Good for you.
Okay, so let's look at the debt to GDP. Let's begin the conversation from debt to GDP ratio, which has been steadily rising over the years. So what steps do you think the incoming administration needs to take to ensure that the country's debt remains sustainable?
The debt to GDP ratio, we understand has risen from about 15% 8 years back to about 34%.
I guess we're having the same issue or challenge with hearing Prof there, but I think Prof wanted to start off by telling us how the debt to GDP ratio has risen over the years to what it is currently, and how worrisome can it be. Prof, are you there? Can you hear me?
I'm hearing you, but it's like your end is not stable.
Okay, go ahead, please. I can hear you now.
So I was saying that even developed economies of the world, they also have moderate debt to GDP ratio. Debt generally is one of the tools for accelerating growth and development. Developing economies alike. So whether the ratio is low, whether it's moderate, whether it's high.
Hello, Prof. Can you hear me?
Yes, your system is going on and off. I'm stable here.
Okay. All right. Please go ahead.
It's going on and off at your end.
All right. Please go ahead, Prof.
So I was saying that whatever level of debt you incur and whatever is the ratio to your GDP, what is most important is your ability to account for that debt. If you're able to account for that debt, the debt is likely to have the desired impact on your economy by way of accelerating growth and development. Then whatever is the ratio, whatever is the level of indebtedness, if you are unable to account for it, it's like money down the drain, which will complicate matters. The debt burden will become a major burden for you. The debt service obligations will become a hindrance, and of course, growth and development will be impaired. So that is the usual background to any debt obligation.
But do you think that is the case? Just pardon me to jump in. Do you think that is the case in the case of Nigeria, especially the current administration, which has borrowed, significantly since they got into the administration? So do you think that's the case? Have they been accountable so far? Have they judiciously used some of the funds they've raised or borrowed for what it was meant for, really?
Yes, I don't have details, but I can say, without any fear of contradiction, that we can identify some improvements in terms of our approach to debt generally in the years bygone. When we use, my own recommendation usually is that if you have to incur debts as a sovereign nation, let your debt be project tied. The beginning of accountability is to borrow for specific projects. Then you know where the money is. Then what you now do on base of the accountability, if it's revenue generating project, so who is accounting for the revenue? Who is accounting for the cost? Where is the statement of account? That will be the second level. We've seen in recent times when specific debts have been tied to specific projects. And I think it started sometimes ago, even the previous administration, when we talk about Abuja Kaduna rail line, Lagos, Ibadan rail line, and some other specific projects, maybe Chinese loan and loan from other multinational institutions and even creditor nations. So when you tie loans to specific projects, then you are able to identify where the loan is, how the loan is performing, whether it's achieving, you are getting the outcomes, whether there is effective delivery of even the projects you identify. Like I said, we've seen in recent times where this has been the case. But the second level is, we ask ourselves now as a country, years after, in terms of cost revenue, in terms of overall management, which we go into the totality of accountability. How has Abuja Kaduna rail line performed? What's revenue generated to this compared with cost? That's what I don't have the detail, and I don't know if that is being done. Then we just started Lagos Ibadan. Then even within Lagos State, we are talking about some specific projects that are also revenue generating.
Okay, Prof, let me come in. If you look at our current, debt to debt to GDP ratio is at 35.2% as of September last year, September 2022. The current country's debt to GDP ratio is 35.2%. And if you look at what we're owing, which is more than 67 trillion naira, do you think that is sustainable?
It has to be worked down, because if other statistics that go along with what we are talking about, if there is anything to go by, then it's worrisome.
I guess there's audio connection issues with Prof. Hearing Prof from here now. I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I wanted to come in here, Prof. Okay.
I'm here.
Okay.
But I don't.
Yes.
Like I said, it's
yes.
like it's your.
Yes, I can hear you now. But pardon me to come in at this point. Nigeria has been grappling with inflation for some time now, with the rate far-reaching, like a 17-year high. And so there's also the issue of subsidy removal, of course, which has been suspended. There's also the issue of crisis in the foreign exchange market. I mean, there's alarming unemployment rate at more than 33% and 40% for youth unemployment in the country. So these are issues. How worried are you for the incoming government?
He succeeded in enjoying debt forgiveness. I don't know if that is an easy route to go now. Whether it will be there in scheduling to at least free some internally generated revenue for other purposes. So something definitely has to be done with the stock of indebtedness. And I don't know the figure you are referring to, whether it includes the balances held with Central Bank of Nigeria, ways and means. which we understand as at March was about 28 trillion. So I don't know if the figure you are referring to includes that. But whatever is the case, something must be done. And we're going by the antecedents of the incoming administration. One can be hopeful that something major will be done. There will be some paradigm shifts. I'm not a politician, but at least I can attest to the quality and the versatility of the incoming administration. So definitely the status quo cannot reach. So something has to be done about the debt. You see, all the economic indicators we are talking about, they go hand in hand. You talk about inflation, you talk about exchange rate, you talk about unemployment rate. They are macroeconomic variables, and whenever one is destabilized, there will be discipline wrong with the others. Hello, are you hearing me? Please?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead, Prof.
Hello?
I can hear you, Prof. Go ahead. I need you to
Hello?
make your point. Yes, I can hear you, Prof. I need you to make your point. Go ahead. Hello, Prof. I can hear you properly, Prof. Please go ahead.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, Prof. I can hear you clearly. I need you to just make your point.
I don't know if you heard me, my comments about the debt.
Yes, I heard you. I heard you properly, but I needed you to make your point.
Okay, so that's the status quo can definitely not remain. So whether we are talking about debt to any from any source, even including the ways and means balance with the central bank, that's the federal government is definitely to Central Bank of Nigeria itself. So everything in the basket has to be managed. The status quo cannot remain. And I was just talking about what I know about the versatility, the quality of the incoming administration to be able to shift the paradigms and help manage the situation in a way that will not continue to be injurious to the local economy. And I was saying that you mentioned inflation, you mentioned exchange rate, you mentioned unemployment rate. These are macroeconomic variables. The moment one is in a state of disequilibrium, it destabilizes, it distorts the others. Inflation is high, we know. And it's high because of what we suffer in Nigeria is cost push inflation. Because cost of production has been going up. Either we are talking about consumables that are imported, we import it at current exchange rate, either official or unofficial. Whether we are talking about product coming from the manufacturers. Manufacturers pay for raw materials, some mostly imported. Even local inputs, they are more expensive. Power is a major cost item. So everything revolves around high cost of production. So if our unit cost of production is high, the manufacturers will, to the best of their ability, pass on the high cost to the consumers. So that what is accounting for inflation in Nigeria. And we also suffer from imported inflation because we are highly import dependent as a nation, either for finished product or for raw material, for medical, for spare. Well,
I just allow me to come in here, Prof. It's important that we take something into, and I needed to wrap up with this particular question. I mean, there are quite a lot of issues in our conversation. We'll talk about, yes, I mentioned, I wanted you to talk about the inflation rate. I wanted to talk about, the unemployment rate and all of that. But amongst all issue is the issue of fiscal management for the incoming administration, because it was as a result of poor management, fiscal planning by the current administration that got us here, according to most analysts or experts, that got us to this point where we have to pile up debt to around more than 67 trillion naira in 2023, and it's going to be a burden for the next administration. So what do you think will be the major thing or should be the major issue that the incoming administration needs to address?
There is need to reposition both the monetary system, the monetary management, and the fiscal management. So far, you see, for an economy to do well, there must be a very warm handshake between the monetary, managers of the monetary system and managers of the fiscal system. I'm not sure if much of that has happened in our environment. Because the monetary system works through the market. It operates through the market system. But the fiscal is executive bias. So it's easy to take decision today and implement tomorrow. So if one is not careful, we'll destabilize the other. And I think we've seen a bit of that in our environment. So there is need to come up with an architecture that will define in very clear terms what are the specific responsibilities of the monetary authorities, what are the specific responsibilities of the fiscal authorities. How will the two not work at cross purpose? Because if they work at cross purpose, whatever is the intention, whatever is the template for one, the other one will destabilize it. So that need to be done by the company administration. So there need for that harmonization of authorities and responsibilities. I believe by doing that, we have a more healthy economic management apparatus in our environment. The architecture as of today has not worked so well because we do have this kind of conflict of responsibilities and conflict of intentions from both sides, the monetary side, the fiscal side. And I'm sure the coming administration will resolve that. They need to resolve that conflict.
Okay. All right. A good place to leave it, Prof. We will certainly find time to bring you back. We sure have a lot to talk about. Thank you so much. We've been speaking with Professor Segun Ajibola, former president, Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. I appreciate you for coming on the program, and have a restful Workers' Day celebration.
Of course, I'm professor of economics too in the university.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time, sir. All right. That's all right. So we take a break now. When we return, of course, we head straight to the international market as we take a look at the oil prices for today. Please stay with us.